So I'm trying to tell you something. We must join together with all nations, take care of the earth together and one another. When you think of the cost of World War II, I'm not just talking about the military cost. I'm talking about taking care of veterans after the war for years. And then all the cities bombed out, the museums and art. You remember England and Germany flattened out. Take that cost, you know what that could have done? It could have housed everyone on earth in brand new housing. Build art centers, music centers, cultural centers, housing, parks. Soldiers should be trained as problem solvers, not killers. When you train people to be killers, obviously soldiers don't know what the hell they're doing because they think they're defending their country. They're building hatred for the next 20 years. When you bomb the Arab world and flatten it out, you're not doing any good. So years ago, when I was proposing this society, I said to myself, Jacque, how are you going to change everybody in the world? They all think differently. Some people have 10 wives, in some nations. It's all so very different. How are you going to change them? That's what thinking is, talking to yourself. If I say, I'll see you Saturday, he says, I'll take the kids there, and I can't see you Saturday. So thinking is nothing magic. It's what you've been exposed to and asking questions. So I said to myself, how are you going to change all these people? I said, I don't know. That's the first thing you have to learn to say, I don't know. Do you think we'll ever get to Mars? Nah, not in 1,000 years. That's your opinion. Just say, I don't know enough about aeronautic space travel or the conditions on Mars to give you an answer. We don't talk that way. When we see a new airplane without wings, we say it doesn't have wings, it'll never fly. The question is, how do you propose to lift off the ground without wings? I'm a layman, not technical. If you do that, there's no argument. But if you give everybody a right to their own opinion, which is we're brought up to believe that that's the right thing, give everybody the right to their own opinion. If you live across the street from me and I see 10 guys coming out of your apartment, I can have all kinds of opinions. You can be a language instructor, an art instructor, but if you give everybody the right to their own opinion, you damage communication. Just when you ask for, do you think we'll ever get to Mars? They would say, it's not my field, I know nothing about rocketry, I can't answer that. That's the way people talk in the future. They don't say, it'll never work. Scientists in the past used to write books on why man can't fly. And the Wright brothers never read those books, so they built a flying machine. They were bicycle mechanics. Now, the Wright brothers really didn't just do that. In the early days in France, some guy designed a set of wings that stuck out 3 feet on each side. And he jumped off the Eiffel Tower, and he died. And his brother-in-law wrote, make wings larger next time. There's no way to know. Nobody ever does anything wrong. They use whatever knowledge they have, and their decisions sometimes don't work. Now, stand society. They do not. You must design for human comfort, and you must design cities with art centers, music centers, cultural centers. I can only talk a little bit about America because that's where I'm from. I don't like our country. It's completely corrupt. And that's for most civilizations today. They're all corrupt. I'm sorry to say that. I don't like what I'm saying. I wish it were otherwise. So what I want to tell you is that we are brought up in a system called established. Established means it serves the interest of the lead group, the control group. What we really need is an emergent society. Emergent society means that there's no utopia, no fixed system. If I were to design a city, and that city would be a straitjacket to the kids of the future, they'll design their own cities. So if you make a statue of me, you'll hold back society. There are no great men, no great women. All people are creative, but they're not brought up to know what that means. I want to give you, most of your language should be subject to definitions, clear definitions, and we don't have that. When we say we have a great nation, what do you mean by that exactly? Another person says to me, I believe in freedom. I believe in participatory democracy. So I say, do you really believe that? They say yes. So did you vote for the Vietnam War? I guess not. Did you vote for the space program? I guess not. Did you vote for highway design, the Capitol building, procedural systems? No. That's just bullshit. I'm sorry. But they give you that to maintain control. Your society tries to control you continuously through radio, television, news. Now, if you worked in a department store and a young lady came up and said, how much is that lamp? You said $20. She said, I'll take 2. Let's say he's a good Christian. He said, if you go down the street, you get the same lamp for $10. He wouldn't be working there very long. So when they tell you that your government likes you, they're working for you, you wouldn't outsource to another country. You understand? If you outsource jobs and production for other countries, it means all they're concerned with is the bottom line, profit. And that's very disadvantageous to people. The profit system actually does design things to wear out and break down, because that's the way you keep in business. Every year you got to buy new airplanes because the old become obsolete. So war has always been good business. Maintain control. What is really needed is the intelligent management of the Earth's resources for the benefit of everyone. Now, the only way you can do that is through technology. Everything that you have, your lights, your air conditioning, your automobile, your airplanes, all technology. Politicians can't give you that. Politicians don't know what to do. They make laws. Now that's no way to change. Say no to drugs. Well, that's not going to stop a person from selling drugs as long as there's money in it. But if you do away with the money system and build access centers where anyone can have access to the necessities of life without filling out a million forms or appealing to Fresco, it's all available to everyone. Everything on earth is made by people that worked hard to achieve that. So a young man at Princeton got up and he said, I don't like your system at all. I said, I can't do anything with what you're saying. What is it that you don't like? He said, well, you want to give people things for nothing. I said, were you born in America? He said, yes. You got the airplane, the telephone, the radio, airplanes, ships, all for nothing. You didn't have anything to do with that, I'm sure. Right? So I said, does it hurt you? He said, no, but I don't like the idea of people getting things for nothing. So I said, are you paying your way through Princeton? He said, no, my dad is. I said, does that bother you? Does that hurt you? He says, I still don't believe people ought to get anything for nothing. So I said, okay. Your dad is wealthy, as I understand it. He says, yes. When he dies, you want his money to go to the Heart Fund and the Cancer Fund, not to you, because you don't believe anybody ought to get anything for nothing. He said, just a minute. Well, they left off the platform. So when I say people hardly know what they're talking about, because they're not brought up to be sane. They're brought up to fit in with the establishment. So it's very hard to ask people, what do you vote for? I believe in democracy. There's never been a democracy anywhere in the world. There can't be a democracy if people have different incomes. If you get minimum wage and your kid gets sick, you can't take him to a doctor because you can't afford it. So he buys a used car. The used car breaks down more than a used car and he's up to debt under there. He has to take his kid to a clinic, lose a day's pay, and he's on minimum wage to start with. So how do you look at that? How can you have a democracy if mothers are not educated on how to feed their kids nutritional food? Not right. Military people would be concerned with how do you bridge the difference between nations instead of declare war on them. So we will have a Pentagon in Washington of sociologists, social scientists, who are there to try to bridge the difference between nations. That's the problem. Not killing them, bombing their cities. That's not a solution. That only builds hatred for the future, if you understand what I'm saying. So I am really putting it this way. What will people be like in the future? First, they'll learn about the earth, and they will be brought up not to want to hurt the oceans or the forest or cut them down. So people say to me, will everybody be alike in the society you're talking about? In certain areas, yes. They won't hate anyone of a different color or different religion. They would not want to hurt anyone or kill anyone or rob anyone or hit them on the head and take their money. None of that. They'll be alike in that area.
There's nothing the matter with being alike in the same way, if you're sane. Now, unsane means not that you lost your facilitation. Unsane means you brought up with artificial values. So most nations are unsane, particularly the leaders. Because if you ask any leader in the British Empire, you say, how would you stop cars from hitting each other? I don't know. How would you prevent forest fires? I don't know. What do you do to prevent earthquake buildings from caving in? I don't know. Who the hell are they then? What are they doing there? They tell you in America, write your congressman. You want women's rights? Write your congressman. What a jackass he is. Congressman doesn't know anything about that.
When you fly in an airplane today, a commercial airline, you don't have to write the pilot and say you've been flying at an angle for 3 miles now, straighten up. He knows his business. The navigator, when you go to Hawaii and you see icebergs coming up, he says, I thought we're going to Hawaii. You have to write him. He knows navigation. So people that fly airplanes or manage ships, you never have to write the captain of a big liner and say, look, we're going to Hawaii, but I see icebergs. You know, they know their business. Who are these people you have to write to? Must be dummies entirely so. They should be at the forefront of human problems in government and not try to stop you from doing things, but to welcome you on the air. But what they do is manage news.